For years, Hollywood women have been blamed for chasing eternal youth. But what if I told you the men are doing the exact same thing, only somehow even worse? One minute they're heartthrobs, the next they look like AI-generated versions of themselves. From Zac Efron to Bradley Cooper, why does every Hollywood man suddenly have the same face? And more importantly, who keeps telling them this looks good? Number 1. Adam Levine. And then we arrive at Adam Levine, or at least the version of Adam Levine currently walking around Hollywood. Because somewhere along the way, people stopped talking about his music and started talking about his face. Now let's be honest. Adam Levine spent years being the ultimate rock star heartthrob. The tattoos, the attitude, the lead singer of Maroon 5. The guy looked like he could break your heart, write a hit song about it, and somehow make you apologize for being upset. But recently, fans noticed something strange. The face looked smoother. The features looked tighter. The entire vibe felt different. And once the internet noticed, there was absolutely no mercy. Social media users began comparing old photos to new ones like they were analyzing evidence in a federal investigation. Suddenly, everybody had a theory. Fillers, facelift, Botox. Maybe all three, maybe none. Nobody knew for sure. What they did know was this: something had changed. And the funniest part, the more Hollywood chases youth, the older some celebrities end up looking. It sounds impossible, but you've seen it happen. A celebrity gets work done hoping to look 35. Instead, they somehow end up looking like a very expensive 55-year-old trying to look 35. It's a phenomenon that deserves its own scientific study. With Adam, many fans felt that some of the rugged masculinity that made him attractive in the first place had started to disappear. The sharp imperfections, the natural aging, the character in his face, those were the things people connected with. Because here's a secret Hollywood often forgets: perfection is boring. Character is memorable. Nobody falls in love with a face because it's mathematically flawless. They fall in love with it because it's unique. And that's why Adam Levine became such an interesting example in this conversation. Number 2. Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell practically launched an entire internet investigation. Because let's be honest, there was a time when Simon Cowell looked exactly how you'd expect a brutally honest talent show judge to look. Sharp features, serious expression, slightly intimidating. The kind of face that could reject your singing career in 3 seconds and somehow make you thank him for the feedback. Then something happened. Actually, a lot of things happened. Over the years, fans began noticing that Simon's appearance was changing at an almost impossible rate. His skin looked tighter. His cheeks appeared fuller. His face seemed smoother than a freshly waxed sports car. And eventually people started asking a question that spread across social media like wildfire. Why does Simon Cowell look younger and older at the same time? It's a remarkable phenomenon. The goal was clearly to slow down aging. But somewhere along the journey, the pursuit of youth became more noticeable than aging itself. At one point, Simon even openly admitted that he had gone too far with cosmetic treatments and fillers. And honestly, that level of honesty is surprisingly rare in Hollywood. Because unlike many celebrities who pretend their transformation came from drinking more water and getting 8 hours of sleep, Simon actually acknowledged that he may have overdone it. And that's what makes his story so fascinating. It isn't really about vanity. It's about pressure. Imagine spending decades on television. Imagine millions of people analyzing your face every week. Every wrinkle becomes a headline. Every gray hair becomes a discussion. Every photo becomes evidence. Soon, you're not competing against other people. You're competing against your younger self. Number 3. Zac Efron. If there's one face that launched 1,000 plastic surgery debates, it's Zac Efron's. Seriously, remember the guy from High School Musical, the golden boy? The jawline that could cut glass. The smile that made an entire generation believe Disney was producing superheroes instead of teenagers. For years, Zac Efron was considered one of the most naturally attractive men in Hollywood. He had what millions of actors spend their entire careers trying to achieve: effortless good looks. And that's exactly why what happened next left the internet completely stunned. Almost overnight, fans started noticing something strange. Zac's face looked different. Not older, not tired. Different. His jaw appeared dramatically larger. His cheeks seemed fuller. His overall facial structure looked so altered that social media immediately exploded with one question: what happened to Zac Efron? Now Zac offered an explanation. According to him, the changes were the result of a severe jaw injury that caused his masseter muscles to overcompensate and grow larger over time. And look, medically speaking, that's possible. But here's where things get interesting. Because fans weren't just looking at his jaw. They were looking at everything. The fuller lips, the tighter appearance, the overall transformation that seemed difficult to explain with a single injury alone. Suddenly, the internet became a giant episode of CSI Hollywood Edition. Everyone was comparing photos, zooming in on red carpet appearances, and acting like they were board-certified plastic surgeons with a PhD in celebrity faces. The irony is almost unbelievable. Of all people, Zac Efron never needed help in the looks department. This was the guy who had already won the genetic lottery. Yet somehow, even someone who seemed to have it all wasn't immune to Hollywood's obsession with perfection. Number 4. Ryan Gosling. Now let's talk about Ryan Gosling, because this one genuinely feels like a Hollywood mystery. For years, Ryan Gosling was the definition of effortless cool. He wasn't the guy trying too hard to be handsome. He just was. Whether it was The Notebook Drive or Barbie, Ryan had that rare quality Hollywood can't manufacture: natural charisma. He looked like the kind of guy who could steal your girlfriend and then politely help you get over it. Which is why fans were completely blindsided when recent appearances sparked a wave of speculation. Suddenly, people weren't talking about his movies. They were talking about his face. Social media detectives immediately zoomed in on his cheeks, pointing out that they appeared noticeably fuller than before. And once the internet notices something, there's no going back. Every red carpet photo became evidence. Every interview became a forensic investigation. The biggest criticism: people felt Ryan's face had lost some of the rugged balance that made him famous in the first place. And honestly, that's the strange thing about Hollywood. The industry spends years convincing stars that they need to improve themselves. Then the second they do, everyone starts asking why they changed. It's a trap with no winning move. What makes Ryan's case so fascinating is that nobody was asking him to look younger. Nobody was demanding a new jawline. Nobody was begging for fuller cheeks. If anything, fans loved the fact that he looked like a real person in a city full of human action figures. Yet Hollywood has a way of whispering the same message into everyone's ear. Good isn't enough. Better is possible. Number 5. Bradley Cooper. Now let's talk about Bradley Cooper, because this might be the most fascinating transformation of them all. Here's the thing: nobody was looking at Bradley Cooper and thinking, wow, this guy really needs some work done. Seriously, this is Bradley Cooper we're talking about. The Hangover, American Sniper, A Star is Born. For over 2 decades, he's been one of Hollywood's most recognizable leading men. The guy practically built a career out of looking effortlessly handsome. So when recent red carpet appearances started making headlines, fans weren't asking if he looked good. They were asking why he looked different. And once you see it, it's hard to unsee. The jawline appears tighter. The lower face looks lifted. The skin seems smoother. Everything looks pulled upward. Not dramatically, not cartoonishly, just enough to make people stop scrolling and say, "Wait a second." Suddenly, plastic surgery experts online started pointing to signs of a possible facelift. Social media transformed into a giant crime scene investigation where everyone became a detective armed with nothing but side-by-side photos and unlimited confidence. But here's where things get weird. The goal of cosmetic procedures is usually to make someone appear younger. Yet many fans argued that Bradley didn't necessarily look younger. He just looked less like Bradley Cooper. And that's the paradox Hollywood never talks about. Aging naturally changes your face, but sometimes fighting aging changes it even more. It's almost like Hollywood has convinced people that every wrinkle is an emergency. Every laugh line is a crisis. Every sign of maturity needs immediate intervention by a surgeon charging the price of a luxury car. The irony. A lot of fans actually preferred the older Bradley. The slightly tired eyes, the subtle imperfections, the face that still looked like the same guy they remembered from years ago. Because authenticity has something that surgery can't manufacture. History. Number 6. Leonardo DiCaprio. Now let's talk about the man who accidentally destroyed one of Hollywood's favorite myths. Leonardo DiCaprio. Because for years we've all been told the same story. Women age. Men age like fine wine. Really? Because if that's true, then Leonardo DiCaprio may be the strongest argument against it. Now don't get me wrong. Even today, Leonardo is still one of the most recognizable stars on the planet. The man survived. Titanic Mania won an Oscar, built a legendary career, and somehow turned dating models into an entire internet genre. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody in Hollywood likes to admit. When people say Leonardo aged well, what they're usually saying is that they still like Leonardo. Those are not the same thing. Go back and look at photos from the Titanic era. The sharp jawline, the youthful features, the effortless movie star look. That wasn't just attractive. That was once in a generation attractive. And that's exactly why his story matters. Because even someone with elite genetics couldn't escape aging. Nobody can. Not movie stars, not billionaires, not the guy on TikTok trying to sell you a jawline exercise program at 2 a.m. Time remains undefeated. Yet Hollywood keeps selling this fantasy that men somehow become more attractive every year. As if wrinkles are magical. As if hairlines never retreat. As if gravity signed a special contract promising to leave famous men alone. Spoiler alert, it didn't. The funny thing is that Leonardo never became the poster child for cosmetic surgery rumors the way some other celebrities did. But his example reveals something even more important. The pressure is still there. Because Hollywood doesn't compare you to normal people. Hollywood compares you to the younger version of yourself. And that's an impossible competition. Imagine spending decades being remembered as one of the most handsome men who ever lived. Eventually, every mirror becomes a reminder of the past. Number 7. Robert De Niro. Now let's talk about Robert De Niro. Because if Hollywood has taught us anything, it's that there are rules. And then there are exceptions. And Robert De Niro is one giant exception. Here's what's fascinating. Throughout this entire conversation about cosmetic procedures, fillers, facelifts, and Hollywood's obsession with staying young, De Niro somehow stands on the opposite side of the battlefield. Not because he never aged, but because he never needed to pretend he didn't. Think about it. Robert De Niro isn't famous because of a perfect jawline. He isn't a heartthrob because of flawless skin. Nobody watches Goodfellas Casino or The Godfather Part 2 and thinks, wow, look at that skincare routine. No. His appeal comes from something much rarer. Presence. The kind of presence that only comes from experience, confidence, and decades of commanding every room he walks into. And that's what makes him such an interesting contrast to modern Hollywood. Because today's celebrity culture often treats aging like a disease. A wrinkle appears, emergency. A smile line shows up, call the surgeon. A gray hair is spotted. Launch a full-scale crisis response team. Meanwhile, Robert De Niro spent decades looking exactly like a man who had lived a life. And somehow, people respected him even more for it. That's the irony Hollywood doesn't understand. Sometimes the things celebrities are trying to erase are the very things audiences love. The weathered face, the lines around the eyes, the imperfections. Those details tell a story. They're proof that someone has actually lived. And unlike filler, confidence can't be injected. You can't buy charisma. You can't surgically install gravitas. Trust me, if plastic surgeons could sell that package, Beverly Hills would be completely sold out by Friday afternoon. Number 8. Kylie Jenner. Before we finish talking about Hollywood's new generation of surgically enhanced men, we need to talk about the woman who accidentally exposed the entire game. Kylie Jenner. Because whether you love her, hate her, follow her, or pretend you don't follow her while secretly watching every update, Kylie became one of the most influential beauty figures of the last decade. And here's the funny part. Everybody could see the changes. The lips, the cheeks, the jawline, the overall transformation. At one point, the internet practically became a full-time Kylie Jenner monitoring system. People weren't comparing stock prices. They were comparing before and after photos. And unlike many male celebrities, Kylie eventually admitted to at least some cosmetic enhancements. Now critics argue she wasn't fully transparent about everything. That's a fair debate. But compared to Hollywood's male stars, she still revealed far more than most. And that's where the double standard becomes fascinating. When women alter their appearance, the public immediately notices. Articles get written, TikToks get posted. Entire YouTube channels build careers analyzing every facial angle. But when male celebrities suddenly appear with sharper jaws, tighter skin, fuller cheeks, and suspiciously youthful faces, many people simply shrug and move on. Hollywood has somehow convinced us that women must explain every cosmetic procedure while men can quietly reappear looking like the deluxe edition of themselves. That's why Kylie plays such an important role in this story. She represents the side of celebrity culture that's visible, the side everyone talks about openly. Meanwhile, male celebrities often operate in the shadows, where every transformation comes with a mysterious explanation involving skincare, hydration, good lighting, and apparently the most powerful moisturizer in human history. The truth is that Kylie didn't create Hollywood's beauty obsession. She simply became one of its most recognizable symbols. And whether it's a billionaire beauty mogul or a leading man chasing a stronger jawline, the motivation often comes from the same place. The fear of not being enough, the fear of aging, the fear of being compared to a younger version of yourself. Hollywood may package those insecurities differently for men and women, but underneath all the glamour filters and cosmetic procedures, it's still the same story. Different faces, same pressure. Number 9. Jim Carrey. Now let's talk about the celebrity transformation that might be the most confusing of them all. Jim Carrey. And trust me, this one gets weird. Because unlike some Hollywood stars who slowly change their appearance over time, Jim's recent public appearances left people genuinely stunned. The internet wasn't just asking questions. The internet was malfunctioning. People started comparing photos from different years, and suddenly every comment section looked like an FBI investigation board. Screenshots, side-by-side comparisons, zoomed-in facial analysis, random conspiracy theories from people who probably failed high school biology. And the question everyone kept asking was simple: what happened to Jim Carrey? Now here's where things become complicated. Unlike many celebrities discussed in plastic surgery conversations, there isn't a clear answer. Some people blamed aging. Others pointed to weight gain. Some suggested medication changes. Others believed he may have undergone cosmetic procedures. And of course, because this is the internet, a small group immediately skipped all reasonable explanations and jumped straight to cloning theories. Because apparently, we've reached a point in society where secret government clone feels more believable than a man got older. But the reason Jim's transformation shocked so many people goes much deeper than appearance. This is Jim Carrey we're talking about. One of the most expressive comedians in entertainment history. The man built an entire career using his face. Those exaggerated expressions weren't just part of the act. They were the act. From Ace Ventura to The Mask, Jim could make a room laugh without saying a single word. His face was practically its own supporting character, which is why fans became so fascinated by every visible change. Number 10. Brad Pitt. Now let's talk about the one man who may have broken Hollywood's plastic surgery curse. Brad Pitt. Because unlike some celebrities whose cosmetic procedures sparked endless memes and conspiracy theories, Brad's transformation created a completely different reaction. Confusion. Not because people thought he looked bad, because people couldn't figure out why he somehow looked better. And that's where things get interesting. For decades, Brad Pitt has been Hollywood's golden standard of male attractiveness. We're talking about the guy who somehow managed to be the coolest person in every room without even trying. Fight Club, Troy, Ocean's 11. The man spent 30 years making genetics look unfair. But recently, fans began noticing something unusual. At an age when most people are learning how to enlarge the font on their phones, Brad appeared to be aging in reverse. His jawline looked tighter. His neck appeared smoother. His lower face seemed lifted. And suddenly, whispers about a possible facelift started spreading across Hollywood. Now here's the funny part. Usually when celebrities get work done, everyone notices immediately. With Brad Pitt, people noticed, but couldn't quite prove it. It was like watching a magician perform a trick right in front of you. You know something happened. You just can't figure out exactly how. Many observers pointed to what appeared to be a subtle mid-face lift or lower face rejuvenation. Nothing dramatic, nothing extreme. Just enough to create the illusion that time had politely agreed to leave him alone. And maybe that's why his case stands out. Number 11. Drake. Now let's talk about Drake. Because if Hollywood is changing men's faces, Drake might be the poster child for something even bigger. Changing the entire male body, For years, Drake built an image around confidence. The chart-topping superstar, the luxury lifestyle, the guy who somehow turns every breakup into a #1 hit. But somewhere along the way, fans started paying less attention to the music and more attention to the mirror. Specifically, his abs. Yes, we are officially living in a timeline where the internet conducts forensic investigations on another grown man's stomach. And according to countless social media detectives, something wasn't adding up. People began questioning whether Drake's increasingly sculpted physique was the result of endless hours in the gym or a little help from modern cosmetic procedures. Now, nobody can say for certain what he has or hasn't done, but the conversation itself reveals something fascinating. For decades, women were expected to chase impossible beauty standards. Now, men are joining the competition, and they're not just chasing better haircuts or skincare routines. They're chasing superhero physiques, perfect jawlines, perfect skin, perfect everything. The problem, nobody actually looks perfect. Not even celebrities. That's why Drake's story feels so important. Because it shows how male insecurity is becoming one of Hollywood's fastest-growing industries. Social media has convinced an entire generation that every man should look like an action figure straight out of a Marvel movie. Visible abs, zero body fat, perfect symmetry, no flaws allowed. And if reality doesn't cooperate. Number 12. Kardashian. Now let's talk about Khloe Kardashian. Because if Hollywood had a masterclass called How to Start an Internet Debate with One Selfie, Khloe would probably be teaching the course. For years, Khloe has been at the center of one of the most intense appearance transformations in celebrity culture. And the internet noticed every single step. We're talking about a level of scrutiny that would make a forensic investigator uncomfortable. Every new photo triggered headlines. Every Instagram post sparked theories. Every red carpet appearance became a global discussion. People weren't asking what movie she was in. They were asking whether she was still recognizable. Now here's the interesting part. Unlike many celebrities who pretend absolutely nothing has changed, Khloe has occasionally acknowledged certain cosmetic procedures and aesthetic treatments. And while critics argue she hasn't disclosed everything, that's not really the point. The point is transparency. Because one of the biggest frustrations audiences have with celebrity culture isn't cosmetic surgery itself. It's the pretending, the endless parade of impossible explanations. It's just water. It's just skincare. It's just good lighting. Apparently, Hollywood contains the greatest collection of moisturizers ever assembled by mankind. But Khloe's story reveals something bigger. For years, women have been expected to maintain impossible beauty standards while simultaneously pretending those standards came naturally. Think about how absurd that is. You're expected to look perfect, but you're not supposed to admit how you got there. It's like entering a marathon after taking a helicopter to the finish line and then telling everyone you simply jogged a little faster. And that's where Khloe becomes relevant to this conversation about male celebrities. Number 13. Lindsay Lohan. Now let's talk about Lindsay Lohan. Because if Hollywood ever created an award for the most shocking glow-up comeback of the decade, Lindsay might already have a trophy sitting on her shelf. A few years ago, people were talking about Lindsay for one reason. Today, they're talking about her for a completely different one: her face. And let's just say the internet had questions. A lot of questions. Because somewhere between red carpets, interviews, and public appearances, fans began noticing that Lindsay looked dramatically different from the version they remembered. Not older, not younger, just refreshed. almost suspiciously refreshed. The reaction online was immediate. People started comparing photos from different years like they were trying to solve an unsolved mystery. Every angle became evidence. Every close-up became a debate. Then came the explanations. Skincare, lasers, healthy living, better habits. And while all of those things can absolutely improve someone's appearance, many fans weren't entirely convinced that expensive moisturizer had suddenly unlocked the fountain of youth. Let's be honest. Hollywood has turned skincare into the greatest magician in history. According to celebrity interviews, apparently a few facials, some green juice, and 8 hours of sleep can completely restructure a human face. At this point, sunscreen deserves its own Oscar category. But Lindsay's transformation reveals something fascinating about celebrity culture. People don't actually get upset when stars improve their appearance. What frustrates them is when the explanation feels incomplete, because audiences are smarter than celebrities often give them credit for. When a face changes significantly, people notice. And in today's social media era, they notice immediately. What's interesting is that Lindsay's comeback also highlights how beauty standards have evolved.